and could not bring himself to give the fire a stick of birch. The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store. You are a cold person. What does it mean? That person lacks warmth and compassion in them. People have to pay the price when they let their prejudices control their actions. Hello students, I am Anil, Assistant Professor of English, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. In this session, we are going to look at a poem titled The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney for the students of B.Ca. first semester. The Cold Within, James Patrick Kinney. In this session, we are going to look at the poet. What does the title say? Then we will go in detail about the poem and then conclusion. James Patrick Kinney is an American poet who wrote his poem in the 1960s. Although it was first rejected as being too controversial, it gained popularity rapidly after it had been read out at a council meeting of all religions. His inspiring poem, The Cold Within, was turned down by several publications for being too controversial. Why did it become too controversial? We shall see. Kinney had also written many other poems but never published them. It is his son, Timothy Kinney, who is the copyright owner of his poems. His poems are A Better World, A Glimpse of Pioneer Ways, My Newfound Friend, My Children, Who Am I, and The Secret of Life. The title, Cold Within. The title of the poem, Cold Within, is symbolic of lack of warmth and compassion in human beings. So when you say you are a cold person, what does it mean? That person lacks warmth and compassion in them. 6 humans are caught against their will in bleak of bitter cold, but none of them uses the wooden stick each one has due to racism, particularly envy, arrogance, revenge, and greed. So these things make people behave very coldly towards each other. Let us come to the poetry. The Cold Within. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in dark and bitter cold, each possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. So in the very first stanza, we come to know that there are 6 humans trapped by chance in dark and bitter cold. It was dark, there was no light, and it was bitter cold. Each possessed a stick of wood, so the story is told. Everybody had a piece of wood with them. And this is how the story is told. This is a moral story, and James Patrick Kinney gives it the form of poem. Their dying fire in need of logs. There was a fire among them, and it was already dying. It needed wood. But the first one held hers back, for of the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. The first person that was there, she noticed there was a person who was black. Therefore, that person did not try to give the wood to the fire. The next one looked across the way, saw one not of his church. The second person, he noticed the other people sitting there, and he noticed that there was one person who did not belong to his church. That means his religion. The first stanza talks about the introduction of those 6 people and how the story is told. In the second stanza, first person did not come forward to help because that fellow found the other person does not belong to his or her race. The first one is of race, the second one is of religion, and could not bring himself to give the fire a stick of birch. The second fellow also did not give the wood. The fire was dying. They were all sitting in that dark, cold place. Fire was dying, and the second person also did not offer the wood which he had. The third one sat in the tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Here, the person who was sitting here is poor. Here it is of religion. Here it is rich and the poor gap. The man who was sitting there, he had tattered clothes, torn clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. And he thought, why should I offer my wood? Because he noticed, why should his log to be put to use to warm the idle rich? The rich people, they don't do hard work, they don't work in the first place. Why should he help those people? So therefore, he also did not give the wood. The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store. Now the rich man's turn. He saw, oh, how much wealth I have at my home, and why should I help these people? And keeping all that he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor, he said, these people are not going to get those, and he also did not offer the wood. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for he saw in a stick of wood a chance to spite the white. Now the black man also did not want to offer the wood. Why? Because he had this chance of taking revenge against the white, and therefore the fire was already dying. It almost died, and he also did not give his wood because he had the chance to take revenge on the white people. And the last man of this fallen group did not expect for gain. There was this last man, and what did he do? He did nothing except for gain. He was greedy. He was greedy. He did nothing except if there was some profit. Giving just to those who gave was how he played the game. He thought if people gave him something, he would give the wood to others. Therefore, he also kept this wood from fire. Their sticks held tight in death's still hands. And all these 6 people, when it turned out to be the daybreak, they were all dead. And their sticks held tight in death's stilled hands. When they died, their hands had become still, and everyone was holding this stick. That was the proof enough of sin. That was the proof of sin. They did not die from cold without, the poet says. They did not die of the cold that was outside in the environment, but they died from the cold within. They were cold towards each other. They did not share that warmth, human nature, with each other. Therefore, they died out of their coldness that was inside them. In conclusion, people have to pay the price when they let their prejudices control their action. I hope you understood this. People have to pay the price when they let their prejudices control their actions. If we are preoccupied with something and if we act according to it, then we have to pay the price. These prejudices make us insensitive towards other people, and we tend to behave inhumanly. Just like we saw in the poetry. If we failed to be sensitive, then we will behave inhumanly. We regard other people as inferior or hostile and lose compassion. So with this, when we feel people as inferior or hostile, we lose compassion and we end up losing everything. That is life itself. We lose having these prejudices. I hope you enjoyed the poetry and you understood the message in the poetry. We shall meet in the next class. Thank you.